Okay, guys, the book of John. Exciting stuff. We are coming to the end of the Gospels here with our final book. It's taken us a long time to get there, right? But we are finally here, the last Gospel. Okay, so the book of John is very unique. It is written much differently than the other Gospels, and it goes a lot more in depth into theological questions. Okay, but who wrote the book of John? Who was John, essentially? Well, the book says at the beginning, this is the book according to John, right? The Gospel according to John. So, John wrote this book, right? It is pretty widely debated amongst scholars, who wrote it, but the church does say that we believe that John, right, the disciple John, wrote the book of John. So this is the beloved disciple who is named in the gospel, and he's one of Jesus' best friends. He actually was the person who took care of Mary, Mother Mary, after Jesus' resurrection and ascension, and they ended up living in Ephesus, which is there on the screen, which is in modern-day Turkey, essentially. And as I say on the screen, it is super meta, meaning it's very philosophical in a lot of regards. There's a lot of dialogue, so we're not going to get into excruciating detail as far as the plot goes, but we're going to focus in on a couple of specific passages and then do a lot of reflection on those passages. So things from this slide you need to know. He's known as the beloved disciple. Who wrote the book of John? The disciple John. And after Jesus' ascension, John and Mary moved to Ephesus. So those are the important things from this slide. On the next slide, here we go. We've got why John wrote. Okay, so this kind of plays into the scholarship of who wrote it and why is it so different. So what we've kind of come to the conclusion for this gospel is that John, right, was encouraged by some of the early Christian fathers, maybe like Peter and Paul, that, John, you really need to write a gospel. You're one of the last disciples we have, and there's a lot of theological gaps that still exist in the other three gospels. John was supposedly much younger than all the other disciples, so maybe if Jesus was like 33 when he died, then maybe John was, a lot of people think he was like 16 or maybe 20 or something like that. So it makes sense as to how it's published a little bit later. He kind of wanted to focus on, as I said, more theological issues. He fought against a lot of heretics, so some people were like, well, was Jesus fully human and fully divine? And John wanted to write a gospel, right, explaining through Jesus' words, right, he is fully human and fully divine. So he wanted to clarify a lot of theological questions. So why is his writing style so different? That kind of answers that question. And then his audience was mostly fallen away Jews, Gentiles, and then Samaritans. So we already talked a little bit about Gentiles, and Samaritans were people who used to be Jewish like 300 years ago. It's this region kind of northwest of Jerusalem, where a lot of people who used to be Jewish now live. They were conquered by foreign rulers, and they kind of intermixed. So Samaritans, that's an important word you need to know. That's the audience he wrote to. Samaritans, Gentiles, and then Jewish people who no longer considered themselves Jewish. So he's trying to draw back these people into this newfound religion of Christianity. All right. Some unique features about John. He is represented by America. Now he's represented by this eagle, as you can see, because he supposedly soars above everybody theologically. And last unique feature of John is that he has a lot of symbolic figures. Okay, so we'll see a lot of individuals come and talk to Jesus that represent a larger group of people. So whatever Jesus is saying to this one person, he's actually saying to this entire group of people. So it's kind of unique in that regard. I just realized that everything I've gone over so far, I'm going to post on one slide. And so I guess if you're seeing this on slide 3 or 4 or whatever, you can kind of click back and forth. Maybe have this YouTube in one window and then the slides in another window. That's fine. I guess that saves me the effort of going back and forth. But whatever. Anyways, we're on the last slide now. Stories you probably heard from John that we're going to be talking about in this unit. We got the wedding at Cana, where he changes the water into the wine. We've got the woman at the well, which we recently heard in the gospel from last Sunday, 2 Sundays ago. We've got the Good Samaritan. We've got the raising of Lazarus, and then we have the washing of the feet. Okay. So once again, sorry about the confusion with this being on one slide, but just click ahead. Okay, you'll be fine. And make sure you get the homework done for this weekend, which is to read John 1 through 4 and respond to some review questions. Okay? We'll see you guys on Monday. Bye-bye. Have a good weekend. Get outside. Do something cool. Have fun. Shalom. Peace. Whatever.